So I'm going to keep working through lesson sheet number 5, or the sheet for lesson 5. What I'm going to do though is break up problem number 2 into multiple videos because these problems can take a little bit of time. So for each of the problems, we need to find the domain restrictions and solve. So first thing I want to do is to find the domain restrictions for all of those denominators. So I'm going to set each denominator equal to 0. So x squared minus 2x equals 0. And now I'm going to factor and solve. So I'm going to get x is equal to 0 and x is equal to 2. This denominator of x, if I set it equal to 0, is going to give me this answer. And x minus 2, I've already set equal to 0 and gotten x equals 2. So let me show that step off to the side here so you can see what I'm referring to. So when I take x minus 2 equals to 0, this factor, while it's part of the first denominator, it's also the third denominator, so it's already been accounted for. So domain restrictions, we've got 2. X cannot equal 0 or positive 2. So there's my domain restrictions. Now, the next thing I want to do is find my LCD, so my least common denominator. The first denominator, when I factor it, it turned into x and then x minus 2. So x and x minus 2. The second denominator, this x, I already have as part of my LCD. And the third denominator, x minus 2, that's already part of the LCD. So right here, the LCD is x times x minus 2. So I am going to take, let me get really zoom in here so I have space here. I'm going to multiply this first fraction times x and x minus 2. Multiply the second fraction times x and x minus 2. Multiply the third fraction times x and x minus 2. So every fraction gets multiplied by the LCD. All right. First fraction, this denominator is x times x minus 2. So this whole denominator cancels out that whole LCD, and all that's left is 10. All right, just the numerator here. Now I'm going to put a plus sign, because that's what my fractions were doing. We're adding. I'm going to move on to the next fraction. So in this case, I can take this denominator of x and divide it with this x that I'm multiplying by and just get rid of those two pieces. So what's left is this numerator of 1 times x minus 2. So 1 times x minus 2. There's an equal sign here. So equals. Now I'm going to do the same thing here. Let's take this denominator and cancel it out of the LCD. But what's left is that x. So this would equal 3x. Now the nice part, if you've done the LCD correctly, is there's no more denominator. So that's always a good thing. Let's go ahead and solve this thing. So 10 plus distribute the 1, so x minus 2 equals 3x. I'm going to solve this by, let's see, combining some like terms. So 8 plus x equals 3x. I'm going to subtract an x from both sides. Whoops. Subtract an x, not a 2. 8 equals 2x. Divide both sides by 2, and I'm going to get x equals 4. Maybe. Because now what I need to do is take a look, is this solution one of the values I had to throw out of my domain? So I had to throw out 0 and 2. That's 4 is fine. So my solution is x is equal to 4 with the domain restrictions of 0 and 2. So that's problem number 2, part A. Let's go ahead and see what part B looks like. Same kind of problem. I want to start, of course, with the domain restrictions. So take your 2 domains here. There's only 2, which is kind of nice. Set each one equal to 0. So x plus 3 equals 0, x minus 2 equals 0. So let's see, that's going to give me x equals -3 and x equals 2. So my 2 domain restrictions are, I don't know why I'm starting parentheses there, so x cannot equal -3 or 2. So those are my domain restrictions. Let's talk LCD. So I want to account for every factor that is currently in a denominator. So my first denominator is x plus 3. So that's one factor. And my second denominator is x minus 2. These two denominators have nothing in common with each other as factors, so we just use both of them. All right, so I'm going to take this LCD and multiply it times each one of these fractions. I'm going to zoom in tight on it, mostly so I can have space to write. So we're going to multiply by x plus 3, x minus 2. Multiply your second fraction by x plus 3, x minus 2. Cancel out where you can. So this x plus 3 will cancel out that x plus 3. And I would have 7 times x minus 2. There's the equal sign. Now, this x minus 2 would cancel out that x minus 2. They're going to divide each other out completely. And I'm left with 8 times x plus 3. That's a horrible 3. There's the 3. Now, I have an equation to solve. All right. No more fractions anymore, which is always a nice thing. So we've got 7x minus 14 equals 8x plus 24. I'm going to go ahead and subtract 7x, and at the same time, I'm going to subtract 24 from both sides. So 7x will cancel out, 24 minus 24 is gone. So let's see, negative 14 minus 24 should be negative 38. 8x minus 7x is x, so x equals negative 38. Maybe. All right. Now I want to make sure that this answer is not one of the values that's thrown out of my domain. So negative 3, positive 2, that's definitely not negative 38. So my answer is in fact negative 38 for x, with the domain restrictions that x could not equal negative 3 or 2. I'm going to go ahead and close the video here, and I will do the next two. I'll set up the next couple of videos so it's 2 problems at a time, and you can pick and choose what you need to. Let